Teachers and civil rights groups are reacting to these new education standards for African American history in Florida classrooms, and state leaders are defending their decisions. One teacher here on the First Coast told me this is about politics, not about true history.
It is academically dishonest what they're doing.
That's what Justin Vogel, a Creekside High School teacher in St. Johns County, thought while reading the state's new standards for teaching African American history.
I hate it when my profession is in the crosshairs like this.
He sees a lot of politics at play. Wednesday, the Florida Board of Education approved new academic standards for African American history lessons. The board is not elected but appointed by the governor. Teachers and civil rights groups are calling out certain requirements. One in particular requires teaching middle school students that, quote, slaves developed skills, which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit.
And that they could be then used for their personal benefit, supposedly, I guess, once emancipated. I don't know. I think it's it's an unfinished statement at the very least, but most likely it's offensive.
That portion of the curriculum has received so much criticism that two members of the state's African American History Standards Work Group responded by issuing a statement saying, any attempt to reduce slaves to just victims of oppression fails to recognize their strength, courage, and resiliency during a difficult time in American history. Another part of the new curriculum drawing criticism states that lessons about Reconstruction will include, quote, acts of violence perpetrated against and by African Americans during various riots, including the Ocoee Massacre. The Ocoee Massacre was an incident in which blacks were attacked for trying to vote. Dozens of blacks were killed. 2 white men died.
So the perpetrators of the Ocoee Massacre were the problem. This is akin to blaming African Americans who sat at the lunch counters, who sat peacefully and were arrested.
A statement from 2 members who helped create the new curriculum says it is disappointment, but nevertheless unsurprising, that critics would reduce months of work to create Florida's first ever standalone strand of African American history standards to a few isolated expressions without context. But Vogel says,
I just don't believe that there's real fidelity happening here. It's just political theater.
The Teachers Union of Florida has also come out against this new curriculum. Jessica Clark, First Coast News, on your side.